Crossover. Rimuru x Eminence in Shadow. By ELIT 3532. BTW This Rimuru won't be reincarnated or part of Tensura, he is born in this world. Chapter 1. Third Person POV. In a world where magic and swordsmanship shape the destinies of many, a demon once threatened to bring about the world's end. Yet through the combined efforts of 3 legendary heroes, 1 human, 1 elven and 1 beastskin, the calamity was averted. Centuries passed and the tale of the great demon faded into folklore. In the kingdom of Midgar, within the residence of the Kaginu family, the birth of their first child, a boy named Rimuru, was met with immense joy. His arrival had been foretold by the sky itself. Rimuru was special, with piercing golden eyes and hair that turned from black to blue over time. Despite his unusual appearance, he was cherished for his kindness. 5 years later, the Kaginu family welcomed a second child, a baby girl named Clare. Rimuru, now a young boy, became very close to Clare, always ensuring she was near him. As time passed, Rimuru honed his skills with his sword, earning recognition despite his young age. Clare too began to show promise in swordsmanship, following in her brother's footsteps. Their youngest sibling Sid, though less skilled, was loved and supported by the family. When Rimuru turned 15, he prepared to leave for the Midgar Academy, a prestigious school for swordsmanship. Standing at the front door with his sword and bag, he exchanged final words with his family. He was now a handsome teenager with striking golden eyes and sky-blue hair. Mr. Kaginu beamed with pride. "My son has grown so much. I'm so proud." Mrs. Kaginu smiled warmly. "Good luck, dear. You don't need it. I'm sure you'll excel as always." Rimuru bowed in gratitude before stepping outside. There his younger siblings awaited him. Sid looked on with a smile, while Clare, on the verge of tears, rushed to embrace her brother. "Please don't leave," Clare pleaded. Rimuru gently patted her back. "You know I can't do that." He knelt to her level, gazing into her ruby eyes. "Listen, Clare, I will do my best to become stronger and wait for you at the top." Clare sniffled, managing a nod. "Really?" "Yes," Rimuru assured her. Clare's tears subsided as she clung to his words, finding new resolve. Rimuru then turned to Sid. "And you, Sid, don't play around too much." "Hi," Sid responded enthusiastically. After a final hug and a pat on the head for both siblings, Rimuru set off on his new journey. Sid's POV. I've been reincarnated into this world for 7 years now, and my older brother continues to amaze me. He often knows exactly what I'm up to, even during my secret bandit hunting activities. His swordsmanship is so advanced that even with my knowledge from my past life, I can't quite grasp it. He gives off an aura of a powerful side character, perhaps even stronger than the main character or final boss, but he seems to do nothing with his strength. I can't help but wonder if he is indeed the main character or just a very overpowered side character." Alpha. I was sitting in my room jotting down some ideas for a story. Alpha, one of my subordinates, appeared out of nowhere. "Yes, my lord," she responded. "What do you think of my brother?" I asked. "Rimuru-sama," Alpha replied, slightly confused by my question. I nodded. I didn't understand why she addressed him with such reverence, but I went along with it. Alpha thought for a moment before speaking. "From what I've seen, he is a genius swordsman with a remarkable talent for magic." "I see," I said. "Have you ever talked to him?" Alpha's eyes widened in surprise. How do you know?" "As expected of Shadow-sama, nothing escapes your notice." "So?" I pressed. Alpha hesitated before admitting my companions and I were once discovered by Rimuru-sama. He mistook us for lost orphans and helped us with food and shelter. I nodded, understanding. "I don't think he minds. He's genuinely kind and would never refuse a request from me or my sister. He's always been that way, playing with kids and teaching them techniques." Alpha seemed relieved but remained cautious. "Should I mention that Rimuru-sama often assists Seda-chan with her research? We trust him to a significant extent." Third Person POV. At the Spellsword Academy, Rimuru quickly gained a reputation as a prodigy, and soon crossed paths with another gifted student, Princess Iris Midgar. With her crimson hair and elegant swordsmanship, Iris became both a friend and rival to Rimuru. A year into their studies, Iris invited Rimuru to meet her sister Alexia. Before they could make plans, an instructor from the academy approached Rimuru urgently, bearing a letter from the Kaginu household. "This is for me?" Rimuru asked, taking the letter with a growing sense of concern. "Yes, it's from your family," the instructor confirmed. Rimuru's expression darkened as he read the letter. "Sorry, Iris, but I have urgent matters to attend to." Without waiting for a response, Rimuru departed. As he made his way back to the Kaginu household, he discovered that Clare had been kidnapped. Mrs. Kaginu's letter had conveyed the dire situation, and Rimuru's anger surged. The safety of his sister was paramount, and he vowed to find and confront the kidnappers. Clare's POV. Clare woke in a dimly lit cell, groggy and confused. She remembered falling asleep comfortably in her bed only to find herself captured. As she struggled against her chains, a man with a sinister demeanor entered. "Finally awake," he sneered. Clare glared at him. "Who are you?" "That's the Viscount of this kingdom," the man replied. "You'll be used for experiments. If you're lucky, we might release you, what's left of you." Clare's anger flared. "Dare to lay a hand on my little brother, and I will rip you to shreds." The man Grease was taken aback by her defiance and left the cell instructing his guards to rechain her. Unbeknownst to Clare, Shadow Garden had begun a mission to rescue her. The Seven Shades, including Alpha, ambushed Grease, but he managed to escape only to encounter Shadow. His power overwhelmed him. Rimuru's POV. After leaving Iris, Rimuru returned to his dorm, gathered his sword and traveled swiftly to the Kajinu household. He bypassed formalities and headed straight to Clare's room, which was in disarray. His parents, nonchalant despite the situation, were a stark contrast to his urgency. Rimuru searched Sid's room, discovering a map and documents indicating the location of the cult base. He deduced that Viscount Grease was involved and set out for the northern base. Upon reaching the castle, Rimuru saw that most guards were incapacitated, and the battle marks were distinctively different from conventional sword techniques. He located Clare's cell, where she lay unconscious with injuries. Rimuru's heart ached at the sight of his sister. He freed her from the chains and carried her out, sensing a hidden presence. When he confronted the Alpha and her companions, he questioned her involvement. Alpha, surprised by Rimuru's insight, assured him they were not responsible for the kidnapping. Rimuru, having known them through his connections, decided to trust their word and focused on getting Clare back to safety. Third-person POV. Rimuru navigated through the forest carrying Clare as dawn approached. Clare stirred, awakening to find herself in the arms of her brother. "Where am I?" she murmured. "You're in a forest with your handsome brother," Rimuru replied with a reassuring smile. Clare's embarrassment melted into relief as she relaxed against him. "I'm sorry for being careless." Rimuru comforted her. "You're my sister. No matter where you are, I would come for you." As they reached the Kajinu household before sunrise, normalcy returned. Rimuru resumed his studies at the academy. Clare continued her training, and Sid remained himself, full of life and curiosity. Chapter 2. Third POV. A year had passed since Clare's kidnapping, and life had returned to its usual rhythm. On this particular day, Rimuru accompanied his good friend Iris to the castle. Over the years, he had lost contact with Alpha and the other members of Ada, who had departed from the Kajinu mansion to focus on developing Shadow Garden. That was a story for another time. Today, Rimuru was about to be introduced to Alexia, Iris's younger sister. Alexia was the same age as Sid, but she lacked the natural talent her older sister possessed. Her swordsmanship had never been exceptional, and she had struggled to keep up. Constant comparisons to her genius sister had eroded her confidence, leading her to abandon her own style in favor of mimicking Iris. "Iris, I'll say it now, but please go easy on her. She's rather prideful." "Rimuru, is that so?" Rimuru wasn't particularly bothered by this. Having come from a lower noble family himself, he had faced his share of scorn when he first arrived in the capital. However, after demonstrating his own talents and forming connections with the princess, he had earned respect and recognition. Maintaining a certain level of reputation and respect was important, but it wasn't his sole focus. "Iris, yes, I'm worried about her. She used to be a hard worker, and I admired her swordplay a few years ago. But lately she seems to be losing her way." "Rimuru, the pressure of being the sister of a genius, huh?" "Iris, exactly. Her current sword is just an undeveloped copy of mine. I don't want to see her ruined, but I struggle to express my concern properly." Iris was hoping Rimuru could provide the guidance Alexia needed. She was in a way jealous. Rimuru and Clare, despite their lower status, were considered geniuses. Rimuru had even managed to surpass her in skill, with their first draw being the best she had ever achieved. Clare, despite her youth, was already garnering attention and praise as a prodigy. "Iris, I wish I could help Alexia, but you're much more suited for that." "Rimuru, I'll do my best." With a reassuring smile, they finally reached the castle. As they entered, several maids attended to them. The presence of Iris's handsome companion sparked rumors. Iris Midgar had never before brought a friend to the castle, and her apparent interest in this young man only fueled speculation. Alexia's POV. "This is frustrating," Alexia muttered to herself, glancing down at her battered hands. "I don't know how Nissan manages. I guess this is the difference between me and a genius." Sighing, she picked up her training sword. There was no point in dwelling on her frustrations. She resolved to practice harder, hoping that one day she would achieve greatness. "Iris, Alexia. So you were here." Alexia turned to see her sister entering the training ground, accompanied by a man with bluish hair and piercing golden eyes. When their gazes met, she felt an unsettling chill. "Alexia. What do you need, Nissan?" "Iris. Not much. I just wanted you to meet my training partner at the academy." As Alexia's eyes widened in realization, she recognized him, Rimuru Kajinu, the man reputed to have defeated her sister. Her curiosity was piqued. She had always wanted to understand how he managed to best Iris. "Alexia. I am Alexia Midgard, the second princess of the Midgar kingdom. It's a pleasure to meet you." "Rimuru. It's an honor to meet the second princess." Rimuru gave a courteous bow appropriate for a non-official meeting. Alexia, feeling somewhat self-conscious, adopted a more reserved demeanor. "Iris. Unfortunately, I have some business to attend to, so I'll see you in a few hours, Rimuru." "Rimuru. Sure." As Iris left, Alexia gulped nervously. Rimuru's piercing gaze seemed to analyze her every aspect. Rimuru, you were practicing, right? Alexia. Ah yes. Rimuru. Then let's spar. I want to see how strong Iris's sister is. Alexia flinched at the thought of being compared to her sister again. Nevertheless, she picked up a wooden sword and took her stance. The sparring match began, and she immediately struggled to find an opening. Rimuru stood still, making her sweat profusely. Rimuru. Well, if you won't make the first move, I'll start. With a swift, sharp strike, Rimuru touched her ribs, causing her to collapse onto the ground, clutching her stomach in pain. Alexia. Ugh, what just happened? Rimuru. Is it your limit? Alexia looked up, trembling under his intense gaze. The disparity between them was vast, like the chasm between heaven and hell. Alexia. Why yes. Rimuru. I see. You know, it's not with this kind of swordsmanship that you will become stronger. Alexia. What do you mean? My sister is one of the strongest. She struggled to her feet, questioning his assessment. Despite her sister's prowess, Alexia had always believed she could achieve greatness too. Rimuru. Yes, your sister is, but not you. This style was built on effort, and Iris worked tirelessly on the training ground. You're trying to replicate it without putting in your own effort. The memory of her sister's grueling practice sessions resurfaced. Iris might be a genius, but she was also known for her intense dedication. Rimuru. Take your sword. Since I'm here, let's train a little more. Third person POV. The rest of the day unfolded with Rimuru helping Alexia understand that she could become strong in her own right without merely imitating Iris. Though still confused, Alexia began to see the value in developing her unique style. By the end of the day, Iris returned, and to her surprise, Rimuru proposed a sparring match. He intended to demonstrate to Alexia that even her sister had limits and was not invincible. The spar between Iris and Rimuru followed a familiar pattern. Both geniuses clashed swords evenly matched until Rimuru grew serious. For the first time, Alexia witnessed her undefeated sister lose a match. The intensity of the fight made it clear that Iris was struggling against someone of Rimuru's caliber, even though she gave it her all. Iris. It's my loss again. Rimuru. You did well. He helped Iris up, and they exchanged constructive feedback as was their custom after a sparring match. Alexia watched in astonishment, finally grasping the reality of her sister's strength compared to Rimuru's. As the day wound down, Alexia approached the two with a clear request. Alexia. Oh no, are you two done? She had been waiting for several minutes while they discussed their fight, lost in their own world. Iris. Ah yes. I wasn't able to beat him as usual. Rimuru. No use in complaining. Besides, if I let you win just to impress your sister, you'd have hated me for it. Iris. Ugh, shut it. Blushing with embarrassment, Iris was caught off guard by Rimuru's insight. Despite her distance from Alexia due to constant comparisons, she cared deeply for her younger sister. Alexia. Anyway, I have a request. Iris. MMH. That's surprising coming from you. Brushing aside Rimuru's teasing, Alexia's tone turned serious. Alexia. I want Rimuru Kajinu to accept me as his student. Bowing deeply, her body still showing signs of fatigue from the day's training, Alexia made a request. Rimuru was surprised by her sincerity. Despite her noble status, she was willing to set aside her pride. Iris. Well, if that's really what you want, I have no objection. What do you think, Rimuru? Rimuru. Before I answer why the sudden request. Alexia straightened up, her eyes showing determination. Alexia. I realize that at this rate I will never reach my goal. If I can't beat a genius, then I need one to teach me. Rimuru. That's a rather unusual approach, asking help from a rival. Alexia. It is. Rimuru was reminded of Clare, who had similarly sought his training. He nodded. Rimuru. Alright, you can come to the academy whenever you like. If I have time, I'll train you. Alexia. The academy. I don't think someone from outside can enter without authorization. Iris. If it's about that, don't worry. Your big sister has you covered. With Iris's support, Alexia could now train alongside the top students of Midgar Academy. As time passed, both Iris and Rimuru graduated and reached adulthood. By the time Clare began her schooling, Rimuru had returned to his family's estate, fulfilling his duties as the family heir while supporting Iris's work. The day came for Clare to leave for the capital, with Rimuru and Sid seeing her off. Mrs. Kajinu. Good luck, dear. I'm sure you'll do just as well as Rimuru. Mr. Kajinu. Indeed. Both my children are geniuses, I'm so blessed. After their parents left, Rimuru shared a final moment with Clare. Rimuru. Good luck. I know you'll do great. Clare. I don't need luck. If you graduated as number 1, I'll do the same. Rimuru. I'm sure you will. Clare shared a warm embrace with her siblings before leaving for the capital, leaving Rimuru to reflect on her departure. Rimuru. Now that she's gone, this mansion will be quieter. Sid. True. Rimuru. By the way, Sid, did you finish today's practice? Sid. Not yet. Rimuru. Then let's go. I'll tutor you. Sid, visibly anxious about the intensity of Rimuru's training, braced himself for another rigorous session. The rest of the day was a grueling experience for Sid as Rimuru, now with Clare away, pushed him harder than ever. Life continued, and a few days later Rimuru received an unexpected visitor. Iris, Rimuru, joined the Bushan Festival. The sight of the first princess arriving in the Kajanu territory shocked everyone, including Rimuru's parents. Rimuru, you could have just sent me a letter. Iris, I prefer being here in person. Rimuru, you don't realize how much trouble you've caused. Anyway, the Bushan Festival, huh? Iris, yes, I intend to win it this year, but a victory without beating you seems rather empty. So please join. Rimuru, sure, I don't mind. Besides, I need to practice to stay sharp. Iris, really? You accept it so easily? I thought I'd have to convince you. Rimuru chuckled. The Bushan Festival, a major tournament for spellswordsmen, intrigued him. Rimuru, I guess I'm just like everyone else and enjoy these kinds of events. Iris, yes, and the goddess of war Beatrix will be present. I hope to meet her. Rimuru, the elven sword saint, huh? I haven't heard from Alpha and the others in a while. He wasn't overly concerned about them. For now he focused on preparing for the upcoming festival, which would take place in the Oriana Kingdom, a new experience for him. With a smile he looked forward to the challenges ahead. Chapter 3. Third Person POV. A few weeks had passed since Iris's visit to the Kajanu territory. Now Rimuru was traveling in a carriage towards the Oriana Kingdom, accompanied by his little sister Clare. Their parents were busy with their own duties, and Sid was off collecting money through unorthodox means. Clare, will Nai-san be okay? Rimuru, what do you mean? Clare, I heard Iris Midgar is participating, and along with her spellswordmen from all around the world are here. I heard that killing was authorized. Rimuru, looking at her with a mix of amusement and reassurance, chuckled. Rimuru, death isn't officially authorized, that's just a misconception about the Oriana Kingdom. Clare, but weren't some participants able to leave without punishment after killing during the Bushan Festival? Rimuru, people think that because no information was given to the public. But if you look deeper you'll find no trace of those killers. Clare, so that means? Rimuru, yes, the Oriana Kingdom purposely hides that information. They do punish those who take a life. Clare nodded but remained a bit anxious. The thought of her brother being in danger troubled her deeply. Rimuru noticed her worry. Rimuru, anyway, don't worry too much. I can always withdraw if things get out of control. Clare, yes. The idea of her brother abandoning the tournament didn't sit well with Clare either, as it would tarnish his image. Despite this, she was excited to have some alone time with him, especially if Sid were there. They could have hung out like in the past. Clare, so where are we going? Rimuru, to a restaurant called the Blue Sword. Clare, what an odd name. Rimuru, indeed. From what I've been told, it's a restaurant reserved for spellswordmen. I suppose the food must be nutritious to maximize performance. With that they walked for a while, occasionally stopping at street stands. However, upon arriving at the restaurant, Clare's hope for a quiet dinner with her brother was dashed when she saw two familiar faces at their reserved seats. Iris, you're finally here. We've already ordered drinks, so take your seat. Rimuru, the royal family's carriage is certainly impressive if you left Midgar after us. Alexia, they're just average. Anyway, good evening, Rimuru-senpai. Clare realized that the crimson-haired girl was Iris Midgar, someone she had seen in pictures at the academy. Alexia was the second princess of Midgar. Rimuru, good to see you too, Alexia. This is my little sister Clare. Please treat her well. Clare, slightly nervous, introduced herself. Clare Kajanu. It's an honor to meet the princess. Iris smiled warmly while Alexia simply nodded before turning her gaze away, as if to say she was only acknowledging her because of her brother. Clare, it's a pleasure. Clare took her seat beside Rimuru, feeling like a third wheel. She watched as her brother and Iris conversed casually, occasionally including her and Alexia. She couldn't help but wonder about their relationship. Were they more than friends? The thought troubled her. Iris, anyway, it's getting late. We should wrap up dinner now. Rimuru, yes, I suppose we'll see each other at the tournament then. Iris, yes. As they parted ways, Clare turned to her brother, her curiosity bubbling over. Clare, Nai-san, what's your relationship with Iris-sama? Rimuru, huh? Clare, don't tell me you two are a couple. Rimuru's eyes widened at her question. He looked momentarily flustered before answering. Rimuru, you got it wrong. Clare, huh? Rimuru, Iris and I are good friends. I thought you knew that. Clare, really? Rimuru, yes. And besides, Iris isn't really my type. Clare, oh really? Tears welled up in Clare's eyes as she looked up at her brother. Rimuru, yes, so don't cry. My little sister looks much better with a confident expression. Clare blushed, embarrassed, and quickly looked away. Rimuru, that's a secret. Clare, huh? Did you just read my mind? Rimuru, you're my sister. I can tell what you're thinking by looking at your face. Clare's blush deepened as she pouted. Her brother had a way of teasing her that she couldn't escape. The rest of the night was peaceful. They retired to their reserved suite and enjoyed a calm evening. The next morning the Kajanu siblings woke up early for a run around the capital before starting their daily practice. After finishing around 9 a.m. they had lunch at a highly recommended restaurant and then explored the town before resuming training. During their exploration Rimuru encountered a platinum-haired elf who caught his attention. Clare decided to take a break and buy some sweets, leaving Rimuru alone on a bench. The atmosphere was lively due to the ongoing Bushan Festival. The elf, covered in a hood and cape and holding a bag of meat brochettes, approached Rimuru and sat beside him without saying a word. After a moment Rimuru broke the silence. "Rimuru, is there something you need?" "Not really. You just looked at me as if you knew me so I came over." "Rimuru." Did she read through my poker face? "I'm Beatrix." Rimuru. Nice to meet you." Beatrix lifted her hood slightly revealing her face which Rimuru recognized as similar to Alpha's. "Beatrix, have you met another elf who looks like me?" "Rimuru, I think I have." "Beatrix, really?" Beatrix's excitement was palpable. She nearly dropped her bag of brochettes which Rimuru managed to catch with his legs. "Beatrix, I'm searching for my late sister's daughter." "Rimuru, I see I met an orphaned elf with similar features years ago. She was doing well with 6 friends and left with them." "Beatrix, so she's alright." Beatrix sighed in relief. She looked at Rimuru with newfound respect. "Beatrix, you're quite strong." "Rimuru, I could say the same for you. I recognize you as Beatrix, the goddess of war and elven sword saint." "Beatrix, I'd like to invite you to dinner to discuss further if you're available." "Rimuru, unfortunately I can't tonight, but we can arrange something for the days after." "Beatrix, perfect. I'll see you later." Rimuru. She picked up her bag and left, catching Rimuru's interest. He wondered if Beatrix was a participant in the tournament. "Clare, I'm back. Did something happen while I was away?" "Rimuru, not at all." Clare returned with 2 brochettes, and Rimuru found the coincidence amusing. He shrugged it off and continued with their day. The tournament began the next day with preliminary rounds. Rimuru breezed through his matches, eliminating opponents swiftly. By the end of the day he had advanced to the next round. The following day the quarterfinals were held in the main arena, drawing thousands of spectators. Clare, Iris and Alexia watched from the VIP lounge. "Clare, my brother is the strongest." "Iris, he sure is. All his fights so far have been a breeze." Clare, naturally nice and promised he wouldn't lose to anyone. "Iris, you really admire him, huh?" Alexia, quiet but intrigued, watched eagerly. Outside the lounge Beatrix paid close attention to Rimuru's performance. She had been waiting for this moment to see his true capabilities. "Beatrix, it's been a long time since my blood raced like this." She watched as Rimuru and his opponent faced off. The fight was over quickly with Rimuru emerging victorious. Beatrix marveled at his speed and skill, her excitement growing. "Beatrix, so he is that strong, I want to fight him." Beatrix's heart raced as she watched Rimuru's performance. Even though they had only met once before, the elegance of his swordsmanship had captivated her. She couldn't help but smile, her eyes following him until he disappeared backstage. With a firm grip on the hilt of her own sword, she adjusted her hood and left to meet someone. Backstage Rimuru bypassed the shower and headed straight for the VIP lounge. Every round so far had been relatively easy, but he anticipated that the competition would become more challenging. The remaining participants aside from Iris were renowned for their skill. However, Rimuru remained confident. After all, generic NPCs rarely stood a chance against a named character. Upon reaching the VIP lounge Rimuru entered without hesitation. "Clare, good job Nai-san. You were incredible." "Iris, yes, congratulations." "Alexia, well, it was to be expected from senpai." Rimuru smiled at their praise and took a seat. Iris was scheduled for her 3rd round of the day, so she still had some time before she needed to leave. Meanwhile, the second fight, which was more intense than Rimuru's, was underway. There was a knock at the door. "Rimuru, MMH. Are you expecting someone?" Iris. "Iris, no, maybe it's the staff." Iris stood up to open the door. As she did, her body froze in shock. Standing in the doorway was Beatrix, who removed her hood and smiled warmly at Rimuru. "Rimuru, Beatrix. Beatrix. Yes, I came to invite you as I promised." "Rimuru. Oh sure, come in and take a seat." The room fell silent as everyone stared at Beatrix with wide eyes. Recognizing the war goddess, they were astonished to see her casually interacting with Rimuru. "Rimuru, so I assume you watched the first round?" "Beatrix. Yes, you did great." "Rimuru, thanks. If you're free tonight, I have some time after the semi-finals." "Beatrix. Sure." The two of them sat next to each other, seemingly oblivious to the others in the room. Iris, snapping out of her shock, spoke up. "Iris, wait. What's going on here?" "Rimuru, Beatrix. MMH." Both Rimuru and Beatrix tilted their heads innocently towards Iris. "Iris, I mean, how do you know her?" "Rimuru. Rimuru, I met her yesterday while visiting." "Iris, then why is Beatrix Sama here?" "Beatrix, I wanted to see Rimuru. Iris was left speechless by the straightforward answer. On the side, Clare and Alexia observed with mixed emotions. Alexia. So she's the goddess of war. She doesn't quite have the presence of a strong warrior. Clare. Wait, yesterday. But when? I stayed with Nai-san the whole day. And what's with the atmosphere between them? Don't tell me she's his type. Then Clare realized something. Clare. Wait. Did she just invite you to a date? Rimuru. A date. More like dinner. Clare. Is Nai-san attracted to this kind of girl? Clare quickly approached her brother, her mind racing with scenarios of Rimuru walking away with Beatrix, their hands intertwined. Rimuru. Well, to be honest, Beatrix here is the closest to my ideal partner. Clare. Ah. Clare's face went pale as if she had seen a ghost. She clutched her forehead and collapsed onto the ground. Rimuru caught her before she could hit the floor and carefully placed her on one of the sofas. Iris. My ideal partner, is it a confession? Rimuru. Take it however you like. Iris. Then what about Beatrix-sama? Iris blushed furiously, clearly flustered by the conversation. Beatrix. I like Rimuru very much. I wouldn't mind having him as my partner. Rimuru. Oh. I don't mind it too, but we should get to know each other better first. Beatrix. Yes. The two continued their conversation, completely ignoring the presence of others. Alexia watched in disbelief. Alexia. Geez, how can they be so nonchalant about this? And they both seem so insensible. Iris. Why you two? Alexia. Oh. Looks like Nai-san's about to explode. Rimuru. Anyway, you should get going, Iris. The third round is about to start. Iris, finally noticing the time, nodded and left without another word, clearly frustrated. She was determined that her opponent would be the target of all her pent-up frustration. Rimuru. By the way, Beatrix. Beatrix. Yes. Rimuru. I really like your calm voice. Beatrix. Is that so? I really like the first and last attack you showed during your fight. Their conversation continued with mutual compliments and observations, completely oblivious to the romantic undertone. Alexia, left to support this unconventional exchange, could only hope Iris would hurry back. Alexia. Damn it, please Nai-san, win quickly and come back. Chapter 4. Third POV. The day ended with Iris winning during the quarter-final, and then in the semi-final during the afternoon. Rimuru 2-1, and now both friends are going to face each other in the final, but before that is a long night of rest. Well, for some at least, like Clare, who still haven't overcome the previous shock, so she was transported to her room first. As for Rimuru, as promised, he was in an expensive restaurant with Beatrix. Both were sitting facing each other, and had already commanded. Now it was discussion time. Beatrix. So you have no clue where she has gone to? Rimuru. Not at all, but I suspect that she and her friend will soon come back. As promised, Rimuru answered her question about Alpha whereabout. They have been talking for a little while now, and Rimuru agreed to contact her if he ever sees Alpha again. But there was something else Rimuru wanted by coming here. Rimuru. Beatrix, have you ever heard of the cult of Diabolos? Beatrix. Cult of Diabolos? No, sorry. Rimuru. No, it's fine. Beatrix. Is this something in relation with the tale of the demon Diabolos? Rimuru nodded. While crossing his arm, he thought about it for a moment, and came to the conclusion that Beatrix would be a great ally, if whatever Alpha and the others are fighting become dangerous. Beatrix. But why bring this up now? Rimuru. I think there's something about this tale, something that wasn't mentioned and hidden to us. Beatrix. What do you mean? Rimuru. Do you think it's possible for a secret organization to exist and manipulate the world for his own gain? Beatrix. That's... Any normal person would have laughed hearing this, but Beatrix took it seriously. Rimuru wasn't someone who would joke around, and she knew it. Rimuru. Look, the tale ended with the three legendary heroes defeating Diabolos, but you should know as well, humans are greedy. What if a group of individuals tried to experiment on the remaining Diabolos? Beatrix. Do you have any proof? Rimuru. No, more like deduction. Beatrix. Can you tell me more? Rimuru. Yes, you should know them too, a group of rejected individuals among each race. Explaining slowly, Beatrix immediately understood who he was referring to. Beatrix. You mean the possessed? Rimuru. Yes, they are people who randomly catch a sort of curse, making their flesh rot and slowly kill them. Beatrix. So you think they are like the failed experiment of those madmen? Rimuru. Maybe, I'm not sure. There is also the possibility for this group to try resurrecting Diabolos for whatever reason. Beatrix pondered for a long minute. The waitress got the time to serve them food as she was still in her own world. Inside, the possibility of this being true existed, it just lacked proof. Beatrix. But why tell me this? If it ever happens to be true, then you shouldn't trust someone like me. She referred to her influence, a great elven warrior whose presence is known by almost everyone. Rimuru. It's about your niece. I think she is fighting this group. Beatrix. What? Shocked, she got off of her chair and slammed her hand on the table. This wasn't a matter to laugh at. If this group existed, it would be a major threat for the world. Rimuru. Calm down, Beatrix, you are attracting too much attention. Beatrix. Ah. Looking around, multiple stares were on her. She coughed and quietly sat back, her eyes locked on Rimuru. Her innocent expression turned serious. Beatrix, did you see my niece fighting them? Rimuru, yes. Beatrix, damn it, then that cult thing is most likely true. Rimuru, I suspect your niece Alpha to have been a possessed person who miraculously found a way to beat the curse and found out about the cult. Beatrix, thus she decided to destroy the cult so no other suffered the same fate as her. The last piece of doubt inside her mind was already leaving. Like her mother, Alpha seems to have a strong sense of justice. And Beatrix seemed to have caught on that despite never meeting Alpha. Her personality just looks like her mother and Beatrix's late sister. There was still a lot of information missing for them to understand the whole situation, but right now they already have a great base. Beatrix, so what do you want from me? Rimuru, we can bring out benefits from each other. You see, I think my sister was possessed, but managed to beat the curse before the effects started becoming too potent. Beatrix, your sister. Rimuru, yes, if my theory is true then I can't look past something like a cult for the sake of my family. Beatrix, I see at the end both of our goals are connected to this cult. Rimuru nodded. They haven't taken a single bit of the food, still they chose to sort of this negotiation before starting dinner. Beatrix, very well, I will do my best investigating this. Rimuru, perfect, I'll also do my best to reunite you with Alpha. Beatrix, yes thank you. And Alpha, did she change her name? Rimuru, I guess so, maybe to cut off any way toward her past. Both shared a last look of contemplation. This dinner sure has brought a lot of value for both. Beatrix, anyway let's eat. Rimuru, yes, I'm quite hungry. Finally leaving the stiff tension of earlier, they started eating, drinking and chatting about casual stuff. Both seemed to have no problem from suddenly switching between a serious matter to a casual talk. Now it just looked like a normal date between exceptional individuals. The next morning went on with Rimuru's routine. He prepared himself for the upcoming fight in a few hours. He wasn't stressed or intimidated as he had fought Iris countless times now, and the outcome is pretty much clear in his mind. One of the major factors in a duel between them isn't the gap in physical strength or speed, it's the capacity to stay calm. Iris isn't the most chill person, and with all the responsibilities she has on her back as the princess, losing is the last thing she had to worry about. Showing everyone that they are safe as long as she is here. Fortunately Rimuru is also from Midgar, so her reputation and the trust of the people in her won't flatter too much. Iris, good luck. Rimuru, there is no luck when it comes to swords. Both crossed paths in the backstage as they were on their way to the arena. They respected each other, and this respect intensified the fight itself. They nodded at each other and walked away toward their entrance gate shortly after they were called, and finally it began. Under the cheer and acclamation of the entire arena, the King Raphael Oriana and Princess Rose Oriana were present watching the showdown. Rimuru, there are surely a lot of people. Iris, indeed, so don't back down now. Rimuru, you know if you want I can always purposely lose so your reputation skyrocket. Proposing an expected deal, Rimuru looked around admiring the biggest crowd of people he had ever seen. Iris on her side knew that Rimuru would propose this kind of deal. He was always a rational person, and despite having the pride of a spellswordman, he still prioritized the best outcome over his own pride. Iris, no, not everyone is ready to cast aside their pride. If you let me win, my own pride would be tainted. Rimuru, I see, then there's no other choice, huh? Iris, don't look down on me now. For months after we graduated I trained day and night. Rimuru, but would it be enough to compensate for the initial gap between us? Iris, the only way to know is to fight. Smirking, Iris drew her sword, taking her favorite battle stance, her two hands on the sword's handle. Simple while complex, leaving no opening angle and weak spot. Rimuru, don't come cry on me later. Doing the same for the first time, Rimuru actually used a defined sword style, not just raw speed and strength, like he had done until now, to beat his opponent. Referee, then if both of you are ready we can start now. Rimuru, Iris, yes. Referee, the duel between Iris Midgar and Rimuru Kajanu will now proceed. Abandon and concession are authorized. The fight will be interrupted if the safety of one of the warriors is endangered. Begin. The crowd tense up at the announcement, their breath stopping all attention on the two fighters. As the signal was given, both disappeared and started a close combat fight, a dance with sword. The speed they were going was already going past what a normal human could see, yet they didn't stop a single moment. Focus. Iris conjured her blade with fire magic, the power she had trained in order to beat Rimuru after graduation. Rimuru got a little startled, but quickly reacted and kicked the girl away before her flame could reach him. Iris, run away now. Rimuru, magic, how interesting. Taking this a little more seriously, the fight continued for 7 minutes of pure action, but at the end the fight ended in a hurry. Sword at her neck, Iris was disarmed with dirt and scratch all over her clothes. The fight might have appeared evenly matched for an outsider, but those who could actually follow them knew that it was one-sided. Rimuru's smile never left his face, and had barely any sign of exhaustion. And now he had proven to everyone that he was a once-in-a-lifetime genius. Iris, I lost. Rimuru, don't be too down by that, I actually had to be serious, your fire magic is no joke. Iris, why do I feel you are lying, and besides I lost despite using magic against someone who never practiced the art. It was true Rimuru entirely focused on swordsmanship. He is a master in this art, but when it comes to magic he never progressed. In fact, he doesn't even know the quantity of mana he has. If people were to know this, they would surely be terrified of Rimuru learning magic. If he can be that strong without then using mana to reinforce his body, Rimuru might be on par with heroes of the past, and this fact alone would break the balance of the world and change Midgar's position. After the fight, Rimuru and Iris were congratulated and given medals for their performance by the king himself. Then after the ceremony, Rimuru had to go through the painful experience that is the media and those who wanted connection with him. It was only a few hours later when he was able to regain his room, where he was welcomed by Clare. "Clare, congratulations, Nai-san, I knew you would win." "Rimuru, naturally, I promised you after all." Smiling, Rimuru patted his sister's head. "They will leave the capital tomorrow, so tonight is a long celebration night." "Rimuru, now it's your turn. Next time you will be the one in the arena." "Clare, hi." Smiling, this night proceeded as later a few guests joined in, such as the Midgar prince's sister and Beatrix. They had drunk a lot. Naturally, only Rimuru, Iris and Beatrix took alcohol at the end. The next morning they had a rough start. A headache and the after effects of alcohol. Well, it wasn't much of a problem, as soon after they went separate ways. By the way, a certain duo, male and female, had slept in the same bed, and they weren't siblings. Rimuru Pav. "But we were away for just a few days, yet I feel like it has been an eternity. Anyway, we just arrived at the familial mansion." Clare was tired, so she first went to rest before resuming her training. "I guess this is her first day celebrating something late at night. Anyway, as for me, I went to greet her parents and announce them the great news. They then, like always, over-exaggerated and praised me for dozens of minutes. After I went to see Sid, but it seemed he wasn't present, so I just went back to my room. I laid back on my bed and mindlessly stared at the ceiling. A lot happened in those 3 days. Rimuru. Hearing a small muffle beside me, I turned to the source and widened my eyes as a cute little creature was there sleeping soundlessly on my bed. How did I not notice her? Rimuru, Ada. What is she doing here? I haven't seen her in a little more than a year. Ada, John. Slowly getting up, she sat on the bed with her eyes barely open. When she finally registered me, she smiled and bowed her head lightly. Ada, good morning, Rimuru Sama. Yawning, I was quickly going through multiple theories and possibilities as to why she was here. But the best way at the end was to ask. Rimuru, what are you doing here? Ada, well, I need an external opinion about a few things. Rimuru, I see. Looking around, I could see a few of my research tools used, some papers spread around the floor and empty food packaging. Rimuru, how long did you stay here? Ada, 3 days, just after you left for the Oriana Kingdom. Rimuru. Ada, what are you doing here? Ada, who had been using Rimuru's well-equipped room for her research, glanced up with a sheepish expression. Ada, oh, sorry if I used your room. I needed to make a few adjustments. Rimuru, I don't really mind. It's good to see you. I actually had a few questions myself. As Rimuru sat down on the edge of the bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that things seemed to be aligning a bit too perfectly. Ada had been linked to Alpha, and it felt like every crucial moment lately had happened almost miraculously. Ada, okay, go ahead and ask. Rimuru, where did you and Alpha go? Ada, Alpha Sama asked me to keep it confidential. Rimuru, can I contact Alpha then? Ada, I can ask her for you. Rimuru noted that while Ada had physically grown and her hair now reached the ground, her personality hadn't changed much. He brushed the back of his hair, lightly settling into the conversation. Ada, may I ask why you want to see Alpha Sama? Rimuru, I promised Beatrix that I would help her meet Alpha. Ada, Beatrix, who is she? Rimuru, a good friend of mine. When Rimuru mentioned Beatrix, Ada's cheeks puffed slightly. Something in her expression hinted at deeper thoughts, but she didn't elaborate. Instead, without saying a word, Ada got up and settled between Rimuru's legs, hugging his arm. Rimuru, Ada. Rimuru Sama is also my friend. Rimuru, well, yes. Ada, here, take this. Before Rimuru could react, Ada shoved something into his mouth, pressing her hand gently against his face. He was compelled to swallow whatever she had given him. To his surprise, it was delicious, sweet, with a texture that was both crunchy and soft. Rimuru, what is this? Ada, it's chocolate. We're making it to sell in the company we're starting. Rimuru, you're opening a company. Ada continued to feed him chocolate even as he spoke. The rich flavors were overwhelming, and Rimuru couldn't help but wonder if his body could handle so many sweets at once. Ada, Gamma asked me to gather. Rimuru, I see. As she placed another piece of chocolate in his mouth, this one filled with a cooling caramel liquid. Rimuru noted the variety of flavors. Rimuru, is this a variant of chocolate? Ada, yes, I have a few samples. Could you rate them for me? Rimuru, sure. Rimuru patted her head, earning a few content purrs from Ada, and continued to sample the chocolate she offered. An hour later, as they sat at Rimuru's desk, Ada decided to show him some of her recent work. Ada, this is the slime suit of Shadow Garden. What do you think? Rimuru examined the suit, impressed by its design and functionality. Though he wasn't particularly adept in magic, he could see the potential it had for enhancing magical conduction. Rimuru. That's impressive. Something like this could revolutionize the world. Beta. As expected of you, Rimuru-sama. You saw through the suit's design with just a glance. Rimuru. I might be smart, but you're on a whole different level. Rimuru's compliment was genuine. The technology Ada was revealing suggested that their organization was far ahead of the current world by at least a few decades. Rimuru. Maybe I should start training in magic. Ada. Is Rimuru-sama interested in magic now? Rimuru. I might be. After all, everyone has limits that can be overcome by learning new things. Beta. Beta nodded, reflecting on the idea of evolution as a means of overcoming obstacles. She seemed to agree with Rimuru's philosophy. Beta. Does Rimuru-sama already have something in mind? Rimuru. Just some. Beta. I see. Rimuru had more ambitious plans he kept to himself. Among the many weapons in existence, artifacts were recognized as the most potent. He was contemplating creating one from scratch, but lacked the necessary information, tools, and materials. He needed to be prepared if any threats emerged against his family. Rimuru. Yes, I need to be ready before it's too late.